Hey, this is Vincent Grosso, and welcome to part 4 of my visually impaired life series. And we last left off with me talking about the steroid treatments and how that made me feel. Now we're moving on. So I had the steroid treatments. I'm thinking I have multiple sclerosis. Every day I'm looking up information on that. I meet a couple guys at my work that I worked with for a long time. Well, it was a guy and a woman. And the gentleman, Steve, if you're watching this, big shout out to you. Thank you. Um, he, I ended up finding out he had MS, and he helped me a big time by discussing, symptoms, problems, things I could look forward to, and things I don't want to look forward to, and all that goodies. But he also would make fun of me and make sure that I knew I was being a little over the top and maybe a little, paranoid, thinking, every time I felt a little something like the hairs on my arms sticking up, maybe you should just relax. You're just super aware of your body right now because you're not used to having problems. So now everything you feel is a problem. So he would tell me stuff like that. And now I realize, he was right. But, and in their defense, I talked a lot in the past saying how all I could think of was wheelchair and death with MS. Well, I'm going to tell you, it was ignorance on my part. I've learned that a lot of people live completely normal lives through MS. So I don't want anybody thinking MS is this horrific thing. It's just my mindset at the time. So moving on. So I had to adapt to my job, and I did. It wasn't easy with one eye, especially when you're light sensitive, and I'm seeing flashes every time I look right or left. I'm seeing all these like light bulb flashes, like pop, 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 pop. And because my eye was just going through whatever process it was going through the damage. But my left eye was still in good shape, and I adapted. I learned how to do my micro measurements, everything. I mean, sewing machines, very tiny parts. I had to work and sharpen air shears, things that we had air shears. Now they're scissors to cut through Kevlar. Now these scissors cut through flesh and bone. That's how they have an actuator attached to them. I had to take those apart and just sharpen the blades, this and that. Very dangerous stuff. So I knew that I had to adapt quick. And I did. And I still worked overtime. I still worked Saturdays. And I still put food on the table. And I still kept a roof over our house. And then one day, going through all those emotions, and, starting to feel a little bit better, thinking, maybe it's just going to be the one eye. It's been months, it's been about 6-7 months now. I'm at work. Actually, I'm getting ahead. I'm going to stop real quick. I went to a neurologist for my first appointment, and she looked at an MRI, and she said, she didn't see any brain lesions, and the cyst didn't look like a big deal. So I got better at work also on top of that because I started realizing this isn't MS. It's not MS. It was in my head. And so I was adapting my job, feeling a little bit better. I was trying not to go to eye doctors because, I was afraid now that a doctor told me I had MS, but then it was totally wrong. So I was at work, and I had to ask a question where something was. And I asked the gentleman, and he pointed down the hall, and his hand disappeared. And it was kind of Matrix moment for me because I felt like I took, the wrong pill. Red or blue, I took the wrong one. And it's just I wasn't allowed to see hands that day. The Matrix was messing with me. So I freaked out. I went in my mechanic shop, told my boss, it was a Friday, and I said, I don't think I'll be here Monday. And he asked me why, and I said, because my vision's going in my left eye now. I told him what happened, and he just shook his head, and felt so bad for me. He's like, well, go figure it out. So that afternoon, with my tail between my legs, I called the doctor that I didn't want to go to, but I got sent to a different doctor, thank God, and he was awesome, and he looked at my eyes and everything, and he agreed at first, it was definitely optic neuritis, but he said, I don't think it's got to do with MS, because he looked at my MRI, and he said, I don't normally disagree with a colleague, but in this instance, I'm definitely going to disagree. He was wrong. And he said, I'm so sorry that you had to deal with that stress. And he goes, but he asked me questions about my work and this and that, and then asked me, do I snore a lot? And it was funny because that particular morning, my wife told me, because I got to sleep in for once. I'm usually at work by 5 in the morning. Everyone's still sleeping. She's like, you snore so much. She's like, you're so loud. And she was, I have to nudge you because sometimes I think you're not breathing. So I thought it was funny. She said that to me that morning. The doctor happens to ask me, "Do you snore a lot?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I do." And I told him what my wife said, and then he's like, "Well, I think you need to go get a sleep apnea test." So he sent me to a rheumatologist. But before the appointment was over, he said, "I got some bad news." And I said, "What is it?" And he goes, "I don't think your vision's coming back." He goes, "I know the other doctor told you it was coming back," because I told him I already said that. And he goes, "I looked and your right eye's completely healed." He goes, "Your vision's not coming back." And I was devastated. And then he said on top of that, it's probably going to get worse, and that I should start looking into disability. And I was like, at first I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like, because he said your benefits. And I said, "I have insurance." He's like, no, no, no. It's like, you need disability and stuff. You need to look into that, because I know your job title from what you told me. There's no way you're going to be doing this when your other eye, if it goes as bad as your right eye. He's like, show me the peripheral paper. He's like, you see this piece of paper? He said, 50 states this says you're legally blind. And in my judgment, you have severe visual impairment. So he's like, anything you need to fill out, you come to me and I'll take care of you. And I thought he was an awesome doctor. He didn't have to be like that, and he was. And so I went to the rheumatologist. The rheumatologist asked me some questions. I told him, he'll ask you basic questions like, do you snore? Do you this when you sleep or that? Do you wake up a lot? Do you take naps a lot? Etc. And then he said, you qualify for the questions. You qualify for the test. So I took the test. Very simple. They put probes all over your head, on your chest, even on your legs. And but you go to sleep, and they cozy you all up. In my case, it was in a hotel. Sometimes in a hospital. I fell asleep. I woke up. They said, "Okay, you sure snore a lot, but we can't tell you the test till later." So they sent me packing. A few days later, I get a call saying, "Go back to the rheumatologist, and yeah, you have moderate to severe sleep apnea, and we need to get you a CPAP machine where you breathe out of your mouth or your nose." I did the nose. I highly recommend anybody who gets a CPAP, try the nasal one first, okay? But usually insurance will at 6 months ask you for, to refill or whatever. Or you can say, usually it comes with the nasal mask, or you can just say the nasal doesn't work for me, and then get the face mask. So now I have both of them. So if I have a stuffy nose or if I'm cold, I can wear the mask, and you don't have to not wear the CPAP at night. So, and CPAPs do make a huge difference, but I'm hoping I don't have to use it forever. Lose a little more weight, and then hopefully we'll not need it. But moving back to my story. So I get the test, and then I go back to a follow-up to that same eye doctor, and he tells me yes. He's like, I think it's NAION, which is non-arteritic ischemic optic neuropathy. And he said that the oxygen, my body was going on safety mode, and I wasn't getting enough oxygen. I was getting low blood pressure, believe it or not, in the middle of the night, and it was going not to my brain enough. So it took away from my eyes whatever oxygen was going in the blood there and put it to my brain to make up the difference. And it caused the damage to the optic nerve. Now, this was his theory, but he really felt this was it. So I wanted a second opinion. So I went to another eye doctor in a different city, and he said, well, I could agree with that, but you're really, really young to be having an AION. But he said it all adds up. But he goes, I want to send you to Mass Eye and Ear. And I said, okay. And he goes, I can't give you an actual determination. You have to go to them. So they're the best of the best. So I did that. And I met 2 neuro-ophthalmologists. I got lucky and had 2 awesome neuro-ophthalmologists. And they did a study on my eyes, my peripheral tests, all that. And they said, listen, we don't think it's NAION. We think it's LHON, Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy, and I'm going to give you the blood work for that. So this is where I am in that 5-6 months. I know I kept it a little short, but I'll go back a little bit and tell you, I went from feeling emotionally, I was so mixed feelings, okay? So I went from thinking I was totally messed up to totally going to die from multiple sclerosis, and in defense of MS, I had completely ignorant at the time. I only knew what I've heard in the past about MS and videos on YouTube or whatever, so that I had been looking up. But knowing actual people with the condition, I've learned that, everybody lives with it, and you can live to old age with it. It's not horrendous for everybody. It's different for everybody. But I don't want to, I'm only clarifying this because in my past videos I said how all I could think of was death and wheelchair. But, you know, my outlook is totally different now on it. So I just want to clarify that. And then all I want to get at is so many emotions I felt. It's like a roller coaster ride for me. I went from feeling like, oh man, I'm going to die, to, oh my God, it's not multiple sclerosis, I'm going to live, to, you know, hopefully my vision come back, to finding out I'm not going to get my vision back, to, oh my God, my life's over again. And then I'm not going to be able to work. I'm not going to do this, that, and that, and this. And going home and not working and sitting on my butt staring at walls, not being able to watch TV, nothing. Because at the point I didn't know what to do. I didn't even think of an association for the blind in my state at the time. I didn't think there was anything for me. And yeah, but I'll get to that in future videos. And I'm going to leave this at this point. And I hope you guys like my videos. I've been getting quite a few subscribers. You guys are awesome. And I'm so loving the support from you. I mean, you guys let me know that what I'm doing is the right thing right now. And helping people is all I've wanted to do. And I'm like, how am I going to do this with my visual impairment? I don't even leave my house half the time. I live in a rural area. I have no transportation, nothing. No cabs, no buses, no Lyft drivers, nothing. I depend only on my wife when it comes to transportation, or my mother. And, you know, I got an in, you know what I mean? This is my way to help people without having to go somewhere to do it. You know, and I'm grateful to you guys for the comments, the wonderful support. You know, I'm happy and grateful that Matt from the Blind to Billionaire and his wife, they threw out this challenge for us, and they've started a whole wave, because I've noticed more and more visually impaired people making channels now. And all after Matt's video. So Matt, you should feel really good about yourself, because to know that you've made change in people's lives is a big deal. Big deal. And I hope that my channel can do half of what your channel is doing. Okay? And big shout out to all the other YouTubers, and especially the new ones. You know, you guys are awesome, and I'm just grateful to know all of you. You guys have made me happier. And I'm starting to realize, you know, there's so many more positives than negatives. You know, as depressed as I get sometimes, like I know I'm happy on these videos, but I mean, I still get depressed. But I work my way through it every day. And starting to learn that, you know, maybe my visual impairment was a blessing. You know, maybe I had to be this way so that I can help people. You know, I've lost out. I was an artist. I love to mountain bike. I have a $600 mountain bike in my basement just collecting dust. You know, I can't do those things anymore. I hiked all the time. I'm still trying to hike, though. I've learned that you can hike with visual impairment. So I use my cane. I have the big ball tip on it. I'm going to make a video on canes, too. I think it's very important to make a cane video talking about ID canes and white canes. So that will be a new video coming soon. But thank you guys. I'm blabbing on as usual. I just want you to know I love you all. Literally, I said it. I put myself out there. I love you. All right? I don't even know you, but I love you, because I've seen nothing but love and kindness from the visual impaired and blind community. And even the people that aren't blind that watch for other people they love. You guys are awesome. Have a good day. Click and subscribe. Hit the like button.